Welcome into Party on Broad. I'm Freddie Burns with Rob and Chris Dives, and boy, are we going to party tonight. The champs are here. The NFC champs, the Philadelphia Eagles, are headed to the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about that matchup, some of the cool storylines that go with that. We're also going to get into the crybaby 49ers. Cry me a river, the 49ers and their damn fans and players and coaches to an extent, as well as, guess what's coming up? That NBA trade deadline a week away. We got Sixers trade machine, and we got a little bit of trivia. I'm going to try to just see if Rob and Dives can get my trivia. But let's kick this off tonight. I'm going to go with Rob first. Initial reactions. We're back. We're not used to this. 5 years, and we're back. We're back.
Listen, I had to pull the Ray Didinger. You know, Ray Didinger retired. Then the season was going well. He comes back. I haven't been on the show since the Jacksonville game when Dives, we did the live broadcast. Was my last podcast.
Yeah, it was fun.
And I'm back today because it's exactly what you said. I'm not sure if I figured out how to react to what's happening because it just doesn't happen here. Where 5 years after being in the Super Bowl, they're back. The Phillies just had a World Series run. The Sixers are 21-5 in their last 26. I don't know how to react. And on top of that, the Eagles are the favorites today for the Super Bowl, which I've never seen in my lifetime. And I don't know. I'm not to react, but I will say this. They have never given us a reason to doubt them as one of the top teams in this league. They deserve to be here. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care about the Chris Sims jackasses of the world, the fans that say, oh, well, our quarterbacks were hurt. I don't want to hear any of that crap. The Eagles deserve this spot. They've been the best team in football basically all the way through, and they deserve to be playing for the Super Bowl next weekend.
You're damn right. And then the way they've blown teams out reflects that as well. What's up, Pat Bernard? Dives, initial reaction.
I mean, the Eagles' defense. I mean, how do you not begin and end with Hassan Reddick? I'll probably leave that layup to you, Freddie. But I thought the offensive line was fantastic. I want to talk a little bit about the offense because that's like under scrutiny these last like 24, 48 hours, man. The 49ers were scared shitless of Jalen Hurts and their run game, man. It clearly left so many wide open lanes for Miles Sanders on several key moments, several key runs that really ended up being the difference, man. And I've said it 1,000 times this Eagles season. What makes the Eagles offense elite is their ability to make defenses guess wrong. That happened against the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners defense was, they had no idea where to go. And I thought they played well, but they had no idea if the Eagles were handing it off. They had no idea if it was a bubble screen, a check down, a run by Jalen Hurts, man. I was impressed with the Eagles' game plan on both sides of the football. They came prepared. It was a Niners-specific game plan, top to bottom. So impressed.
And I got to give you props because I got props with the Giants game, calling that blowout, right? Now you get props because you called the blowout. But not only that, your player of the game was Hassan Reddick going in, and you called that he was going to dominate that game. So thank you for giving me the layup, but really that's you, man. You nailed it. So shout out to you there. I was at the game. It was awesome. And, you know, I noticed midway, I'm not getting the announcers talking, you know what I mean? So like you're making your own judgments as it goes. And as they're running the plays, you realize the 49ers can't throw the football. They can't. They just can't. Purdy comes in, you check Twitter, you see he's hurt. There's no way they're going to throw. I FaceTimed my daughter at the end of the third quarter from the stadium. I said, we're going to the Super Bowl. Like, it was no doubt. You knew it was over. The Eagles defense, I mean, to their credit, controlled the game. I know that they couldn't throw, but there's a lot of times that same thing could happen and they got run on, which for a couple drives they were. I was getting a little scared. McCaffrey went for the touchdown. They were giving up like 15-yard gashes. I'm screaming, stack the box, stop the run. And they adjusted, and they did that. Offensively, again, not a great throwing day for Hurts, but they're a chameleon. This whole season, they've been a chameleon, and they adjust, and they ran the football. I don't think Miles Sanders had a carry in the second half. All of a sudden, it was Kenny Gainwell when Miles Sanders had 2 touchdowns in the first half. So very exciting stuff. The Eagles prove again that, they're going to the Super Bowl, guys. Like, I know they're this good, but you got to pinch me. Like, it hasn't, like you said, Rob, it hasn't hit me. Like, I don't really realize it.
Well, and there were 3 things in particular in this game that were major to me. One, everyone talks about, oh, well, Brock Purdy got hurt. It wasn't fair. It's not like Brock Purdy pulled himself out of the game. He got hit. And then Josh Johnson got hit by Ndamukong Suh. It was the body bag game part 2 is what it was. I mean, it was unbelievable. They were in the backfield every single time the 49ers went to pass in that game. Every time. And that was something because, obviously I wasn't on here, but I said to people during the week, I said, I got to be honest, I think the Eagles win by 10 plus. My reason for that is I think their defense is going to dominate that offensive line, and they can, as you were talking about with them being a chameleon, they can score in different ways. Now, I personally thought that it was going to be the pass. I was kind of shocked at how they were able to get the run. But, when you went back and you watched highlights and Dives just said it, those linebackers were holding for just a second because they didn't know what Jalen Hurts was going to do. And it was opening up wide open lanes for Miles Sanders, Gainwell, all those guys. And think about the 3 touchdowns. The 3 rushing touchdowns all in the red zone where Jalen Hurts normally kills somebody. And what happened is they had to hesitate. And these guys were wide open to get to the outside and score.
And I want to touch on Jalen Hurts because, it wasn't a good game from Hurts. He was running out of the pocket way too fast. He was playing very conservative. At the end of the day, this was the number 1 turnover differential team in the NFL against the Eagles, who were number 3. They were clearly playing don't make mistakes. That was the offensive game plan. I was really impressed with Hurts to kind of just go to the checkdowns. By the way, like Jalen Hurts was like one of the lowest in the league when it comes to checkdowns last year. This year in the playoffs in a huge game, it was great to see him just go to the check down, and just take what the defense gives you. I did, props to the Niners defense. We're going to get to the crybabies, 49ers in just a second, but I thought it was a smart game plan. And that's what this Eagles offense did, was going up against the number 2 rushing defense in the NFL. They ran the ball 44 times, 4 rushing touchdowns. They didn't give a damn. Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce, Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, they were in the second level. They were pushing guys around. Nick Bosa, dude had 1 missed tackle and was goose eggs across the freaking board. They cut up this front 7 for the Niners, and that is why the Niners lost, not because of injuries.
And that was one of the things when you talk who was blocking him most of the time. A guy that has a serious injury in Lane Johnson. He is the quintessential warrior of this era of Eagles football. When you think about what this guy's gone through over the last 24 months with his mental health and all of that, and then he comes back, he gets this injury and says, screw it, I'm playing, and hasn't allowed anything. That's what this team is. This team loves each other that much. And for the guys like Julian Love who say, oh, Nick Sirianni's getting a free ride, it's because of Nick Sirianni that they are as together as they are. And this guy should be getting more credit. The fact that he wasn't up for all the awards, I don't even want to talk about it. The awards as a whole were an absolute abomination. But kudos to Lane Johnson for the warriorness.
So speaking of trash talk, Julian Love's definitely the new most hated Giant, and I agree with you, Rob. That's BS.
Who the hell is Julian Love?
Notre Dame. I'll give him that. I'm not a Notre Dame fan, but I at least knew that much. But yeah, you're right. What has Julian Love done? But moreover, let's talk about this San Francisco 49ers sore loser, Cry Me a River team. And it started in that fourth quarter with the tantrums. 57, who's that? Greenlaw throwing the punches, all that nonsense. Trent Williams and his nonsense. And then we get off the field and we got Fred Warner crying and his wife doing a whole video about how unsafe she felt and scared. And I think if she was scared, the way she was explaining that story, you could tell she was making some of the stuff up. Kyle Shanahan saying it's just so sad that we didn't really get a chance to compete because his quarterback got knocked out. What the hell is going on here? I had so much respect for this organization and this team, and now I'm like, I kind of hate the 49ers. Like, I liked Royce. I was to the point I'm in the stands yelling, and there's 49ers fans around. I was talking trash on Steve Young and Jerry Rice just to get at them. I was so mad. They should have ended. I wanted them to end the game, how much of sore losers they were. Dives, you've been tweeting about it all week. Go ahead.
I mean, I touched on this on Birds of the Roundtable on Tuesday night. It was pathetic. And it doesn't stop there, man. It goes to Shanahan saying, well, they didn't show the Devontae Smith catch down the sideline on the Jumbotron, and he was bitching and moaning because they didn't show it. Newsflash, Shanahan, you get number 1 seed, and you can, do what you want,
well,
man. Yeah, home field advantage. You get home field advantage next time. That's all part of this, man. And all week, let's go a week before this, the entire Giants week, all we heard, Coach of the Year, Daniel Jones. They just beat a great Vikings team. They're coming into Philly, blew them out. You have the Niners who won 12 straight games. They might have also Coach of the Year. They actually had ranked above the Eagles in many different stats. Blew them out. The Eagles did not get lucky for knocking with Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson getting hurt, man. The Eagles knocked them out of the freaking game legally without, all the other bullshit that we saw in the fourth quarter. And that was the game. Maybe don't have your third tight end try and block Hassan freaking Reddick. That's the failure of the Niners started and ended on the 6th play of the game, and they were not prepared. Pure and simple, man. It oozed through with the Niners fans as well. These Niners fans are whining and crying and, just throwing everything under the book about this Eagles team, man. It's sickening because not only have the Eagles managed these games, they're blowing teams out. They are and their defense is only giving up 14 points in the postseason. Stop whining. Just stop.
Speaking of whiners, Matt Bednarik checking in. Look at him. He can't get off his Hallie take so much. Do you want this team to lose, Matt?
He does.
Come on, Dan Jones plus a third. Oh, well, man. Yeah, we will see. And then you'll talk about how Mahomes' knees hurt if they do win. Well, get off of it. Get off of it.
Let's just go to that point. First of all, going into the Giants week, all I heard about was the unbelievable improvement of Daniel Jones, and he improved himself in this league. Then Brock Purdy, all we have been taught about was the guy does nothing but wins. He doesn't make mistakes. He does nothing but wins.
Tom Brady.
Brocky, they're trying to call him.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to be Tom Brady, last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant. Beat him. Everyone that has wanted their narrative to be true, whether it be Eagles fans that are just haters or people on the outside, have found ways to discredit what the Eagles have done. I don't know how you discredit what you've seen so far in these playoffs. Not to mention, you were talking about Kyle Shanahan, where I got so annoyed with him on the one Eagles drive that was kept alive by 4 49ers penalties because he's bitching at the refs. Go back and watch every single one of those plays. They have been called every single time for the last 5 years. They were penalties, bro. Tell your team not to hold. Tell your team not to do stupid shit. And then the Trent Williams thing pissed me off because the situation was calming down. And then what do the refs do? They eject him and Kayvon Wallace. It's no, come on, but listen.
Was that Kayvon Wallace's first play of the year? Fighting?
Yeah. 49ers fans are more upset because they probably spilled their Cabernet Sauvignon. Their little glasses from the wine country that they sell in their stadium. That really loud stadium that Deebo Samuel tried to tell you about. They were spilling they don't get any more wine spritzers on the year. They were a little disappointed and they decided to cry. But you know what? I'll drink their tears up all week because the Eagles, this season, towards the end of the season, dealt with injuries and still just kept plugging away. And they deserve this.
This was one of the best game plans by Jonathan Gannon, period. Kudos to Gannon for saying that he's staying in Philadelphia, man. But I loved his game plan. He played up at the line. He knew his pass rush was going to get home. and he didn't give the Niners receivers anything. And like I said to start the show, this was a Niners specific game plan that I hope honestly carries over for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we'll break that down really soon. But I was just so impressed, man.
Cue the Gannon haters. Do we have any left? But we'll get into the actual breakdown of the game next week. Today, the matchup is set. I want to get into not all the storylines. I want to focus on Andy Reid for the storylines, but there's a ton of storylines within this game, just with Andy Reid, but former Eagles coaches. Eric Bieniemy, who coached with the Eagles or played for the Eagles, is on this staff. Steve Spagnuolo returns as a linebackers coach here, D-line under Reid. He's the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs. Andy Reid had Matt Nagy with the Eagles when he was here, who's also a coach over there. And then running backs coach, he was a wide receiver coach here under Doug, Greg Lewis as well. You also have the Kelsey brothers playing each other. Another cool storyline. But without getting into any of those, well, what do you got up here, Dibes?
This is a poll I ran a few days ago, or yesterday, I guess, of the top storylines. And
Go ahead.
I think I agree completely. The first two African-American quarterbacks going head-to-head, getting 41% of the votes here out of 1.3 thousand votes is the top storyline. That's definitely the top storyline. But if I had to go to matchups, I'm definitely looking at A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith versus trio of rookie defensive backs for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that is a huge, huge advantage for the Eagles. I think A.J. Brown hasn't topped 30 yards in the postseason in back-to-back games. This screams a game for A.J. Brown in the Super Bowl, just like we saw all season long. It's one of many different matchups to watch, and I've got 1,000 on my notes here. But if I had to pick a huge advantage, it's A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Matchups are one thing, but I mean like nostalgia, like cool storylines, like the brother thing, or like Andy coming home. Rob, what's a cool one that you like the best?
Look, look, the Andy Reid storyline is phenomenal. Andy was here. He was the coach of most of our, when I was young. So what did he come in 98? I was 14 and he was here till I was like 30. So I mean, Andy was the coach that was here the longest. Look, there's all this stuff, and you're going to hear this out of the national media because they want you to do that. Philadelphia ran Andy Reid out. All this other bullshit that's not true. The truth of the matter is his time was done here. Okay, the truth of the matter was the last 4 or 5 years outside of the one NFC Championship run, which, by the way, that team was bad all year. They were 9-6-1. It was not good, and Andy's time had run its course here. And what you've seen is he's learned from some of the mistakes of his headstrongness here. He went out and had a Tyreek Hill type of receiver. He invested.
He got rid of him though.
But he did get rid of the minute he started asking money. Yeah. Now look, the thing here is, it's Andy fired Nick Sirianni. When Andy took that job, Nick Sirianni.
That's another one. That's what I'm talking about.
And he basically said, "No, thank you, Nick. You can move on." Not that that's going to matter because I'm sure Nick Sirianni has a whole ill will towards him for wanting his own coaching staff. But Andy,
maybe a little. I would have a little chip.
But Andy against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Listen, if they both hadn't won one, this game would be even more of a like, oh my God. But they both won one now. So now it's a matter of what Andy do you see? Because I will continue to say this. He won his Super Bowl, but he's also still lost quite a few big games over there, which was the MO here, was that he would outthink himself or he would do something a little wrong. What did we see from Nick Sirianni? He'll adjust in game if needed to make it work for his squad. So I'm really excited to see the chess match between the old vet and the new kid on the block, and who could, who puts together the winning game plan.
God, sorry.
With the Andy comment, you said I agree with you about the 2 Super Bowls, because when Andy first left, I rooted against him. I did not I was one of the haters. I did not want him to win. But then once we got ours first, I'm like, okay, I'm rooting for Andy now.
Yeah.
And to your point, and that's why I commented on the Tyreek Hill thing. Though Andy has adjusted, when it came time to pay the receiver, he let him walk. And where do they lack right now? At wide receiver. It's an issue. Yeah. And Mahomes has had to change the way he plays because of receiver. So I agree with you. Reid isn't as like completely changed as it appears that he is.
Shane had a really funny point. If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, would you get rid of Nick Sirianni? Because you look at second-year head coaches for Philadelphia. Doug Peterson, second year, Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni, second year, Super Bowl. Would you fire or trade Nick Sirianni with the hope that a second-year coach comes in?
What Nick Sirianni is the next new age of coach. Like Doug, once again, I know it was quick and I know there was a lot of turmoil, but Doug did a good job of running himself out of here by trying to keep his friends in positions that they didn't belong in. And like everyone was like, oh, look at what Doug did. Yeah, what Doug did this year was tremendous, but we know Doug can do that. The problem is Doug can get in his own way. Why? Who was his mentor? Andy Reid. They are the same type of coach. Nick Sirianni is a guy, listen, if he was on another team, we'd hate his antics. We obviously love him here because he's our guy. I think Nick Sirianni is the real deal. I think he's smart. I think he knows how to get through to players. And I think he's willing to adjust, as we saw last year, when he needs to. Now, there have been a couple game plans this year where we've all sat back and go, I don't know. But he's not afraid to critique himself and make the correct changes. And that's why, to me, Nick Sirianni could be a long-term solution here with Philadelphia Eagles.
Matt goes, put the Kool-Aid down. Jalen Hurts is 16-1 this year, and my man Matty B is still bitching and moaning. Just become a Niners fan, you'll fit right in, man. You'll just fit right in.
You've been on the show a lot, this Matty B.
No, Matt listens in, and we appreciate his support. He does his own show on Tuesday nights on Edge of Philly Sports. He does it bounces around, but he has this take on Howie early on. Yeah. And I agreed with. I thought there was issue. There still is issues with the way Howie drafts, but as far as like trades and free agency, he's amazing. And Matt won't let it go. I think he kind of wants the Eagles to lose. So
it's okay for us. It's okay for us to admit we were wrong at times. I was wrong about Jalen Hurts. I was wrong to say they should have fired Howie Roseman. I'm so, you know what I mean? Like, I'll admit this to the day because at the end of the day, I want this team to be successful. And I'm gonna take this a step further. Now, it doesn't matter too much if they don't win next Sunday. But this team might be the most entertaining team of my entire life. When you take all these guys and what they were able to do through 17 games this year, I know what that run was in the early 2000s. But there was always one or two guys on that team that I hated. Mark Simoneau, guys like that. Like, there were guys I can't put one guy on.
You hate Mark Simoneau?
Can you not bring up Mark Simoneau? Who next are you going to bring up? Nate Gary? Like, what are you doing?
Mark Simoneau, Nate Gary, Kurt Coleman, hated these guys, wanted to punch
them. Good vibes only, man. Oh,
Dude, Simoneau is my all-time most hated Eagle. You're the first. I haven't had anyone bring him up besides you. I'm like, I love you right now, Rob. Like,
he's a top 3 most hated Eagle for me.
Yeah, he's bad. Yeah, he's bad. And by the way, Matty B, if you ever if this doesn't work out for you, WIP will definitely have a job ready for you.
Go shock jock over there.
He actually used to work there. Actually, I forget exactly what he did.
It all makes sense. It all makes sense now.
He was good there. I'm pretty sure. I might be speaking out of turn, Matt, but I'm pretty sure I heard that.
That is so funny. All right, I'm out.
Couple more fun facts, and let's get in the Sixers. Mahomes and Hurts, you were talking about both African-American quarterbacks. That's cool. Also, they're going to be combined age, the youngest quarterbacks combined ever to play against each other. And they're both MVP finalists, right? And we're all rooting for Hurts to win the MVP. Well, did you know when MVPs face off against each other, when the MVP is in the Super Bowl, that MVP of the league is 0-9. So I think we might be rooting for Mahomes because I'll take a Super Bowl over a Hurts MVP.
Tom Brady won the MVP back in 2017. What happened? Nick Foles beat his ass in the Super Bowl.
Yup. But let's switch gears to some Sixers here. We are a week away from the trade deadline, and we got some cool trade machines going up. But before we put our actual trades up, let's get into like, what are some of the big needs you think, Dive? Start with you. What needs do the Sixers have? We're going to address specific trades on a couple needs, but what do you think they should be looking for at the deadline?
The top two is our wing defenders. Actually ran a poll of that as well. Let me share this real quick. I'm going to share this.
Go ahead.
There it is. So number one voted on is wing defender at 42% and backup big. And I'm going to echo those statements. I think that's pretty spawn. You look at wing defenders, the Eagles, especially off the bench, really struggle. Once we get into my trade target for tonight, I'll explain why, but I'm going to deep dive into that one. Backup big is a huge need for the Sixers. That's been the Achilles heel for the Sixers in the playoffs the last few years. And then we've got floor spacer, ball handler, and other. But for me, it's absolutely wing defender. The Sixers continuously struggle with guards that can penetrate, dribble, get into the paint, and create. That has been just like a team like OKC, a team like Boston, young teams that have length and size. Those are teams that really, shut down Tyrese Maxey and things like that. So wing defender for me.
Rob, what do you think?
I was going to say it's got to be defense on that second unit. You know what I mean? I think once you go to the bench, I think your defensive drop off is pretty severe. Listen, I know people in this town love Matisse Thybulle's smile. I know I haven't been on here too much, but I'm over the Matisse Thybulle thing. Frankly, I believe he's an overrated on the ball defender. I think he allows himself to be screened so easy sometimes because he thinks he's going to do that follow-up and get the block. And every now and again he does, but 9 times out of 10, he gets called for a foul and then he gives you one of these. No, you can't play defense that way. You just can't do it. And when you have zero offensive game, forget it. Like, I just can't. So they need, as Dive said, I think it's the wing defender. Even if they were to get another guard that is more of a defensive-minded guard, and just a smart offensive player, doesn't have to score a lot, I think that could do some good for them. But to me, you've got to shore up that defense for the second unit so that if your first unit's able to build a lead, you don't have to be worried about when they get back in that thing being cut down to 3 or 4 points.
I couldn't disagree anymore. Wow. I couldn't disagree anymore.
We're gonna get a wing defender too, but
I want a wing defender, but I fully disagree about Matisse Thybulle. Fully disagree.
Thybulle, you're one of the blue colored Thybulle glass guys. I got you.
Yeah. Well, he's a blue colored Thybulle glass guy, and they could win 20 in a row, but if they lose one, he's going to tell me that they should fire Doc. I know that.
Now, I don't want to take it here.
We haven't had Doc. We haven't had Rob on the show. I want to give Doc a lot of credit because he's by far having.
He did, Rob, multiple weeks.
Season. He's been coaching his ass off.
I've been in Dives will tell you, I'm a huge Doc supporter. And I've kind of stood on this hill by myself a lot, even at times where I'm like, oh God, this is a tough hill to be on right now. But to hold, when they had all those injuries to begin the year, to kind of hold water, that's coaching. You know what I mean? And then when you see when you've heard things in the media, like when Embiid said, about him playing up top, he's like, well, Doc came to me and we talked about it and he agreed. Or Maxey saying, I went to Doc and Doc is showing that he'll adjust. So that's the kind of stuff I like. Doc does deserve some credit this year, I think. I know that, hey, Dives, you know what? You gave him credit today. That it's the best day of my life because you gave Doc a little credit today. I don't even know how to react.
Three lineups, my ass, man. He's already like, no, he's a straight liar.
I know. We went into the 3 lineups 3 weeks ago, and he's already down to 1. But I teeter on the Doc fence. I lean more of a Doc supporter, but at this year, I started to fall off because I don't. You could go up and down on him. He is a. I don't know. I don't want to say lightning rod, but there are things you can really they're head scratching about him that it's like if you're trying to defend him, you just look like a fool. But then there's other things about him that the people that hate him just totally forget, like players, coach, like keeping the locker room together, that type of thing. So, but not they say forget Doc. We're on the trade. The trade deadline's coming up the 9th. I agree with you on the wing defender. I just don't know any wing defenders that are out there. So I'll start with my trade first. And I'm going to say if we can't find the defense, let's go get the offense. and let's get rid of Matisse Thybulle, throw Korkmaz in the deal. Last year, when we got rid of Seth Curry in the Ben Simmons trade, it's because we wouldn't move Thybulle. So now I'm saying, hey, you guys really want Thybulle? We'll give him to you. Bring Seth Curry back here. Let's get that shooting, that spacing on the floor. And he's also on a 1-year deal. So you're also clearing about $9 million in cap space to go out and get someone next year if it doesn't work out. Dives, would you bring Seth Curry in for your boy Thybulle?
Absolutely not. And I look at this roster, the way they are built. Dude, in the playoffs, you cannot have a bench or a backcourt that features heavily Seth Curry and Tyrese Maxey. That's been the one truth of this season, is that the combination of Tyrese Maxey, James Harden in the backcourt defensively, it is exposed. And the playoffs is all about who your worst defender is. This backcourt will get picked apart.
I need is 10 minutes of scoring. I just need 10 minutes of scoring, Dives. And then
absolutely not. Give me Matisse Thybulle, and I'm going to say why when it's my turn.
Rob, would you do this deal?
Listen, this is so hard for me because when they traded Seth Curry instead of Matisse Thybulle last year, I snapped. That was the one thing I hated everything about it, because I love Seth Curry. And when it got to the playoffs and Matisse Thybulle decided he wanted to play hot potato rather than shoot a damn ball against the Miami Heat, I sat there and my head almost exploded when that happened. But for this version of the team, they have got to make sure that on the wing and the perimeter that they're defending. I think they have enough scoring in the guys of Maxey, in Melton, obviously, and then Embiid and Harden. So I am very much defensive-centric on this trade deadline, and it pains me, Freddie, it pains me to say no to this because I am the biggest Seth Curry supporter, and I hate seeing him play alongside that scumbag Ben Simmons in Brooklyn.
Well, then, Dives, what would you do? Blow up the team?
All right.
This trade,
let me start off just saying that I am terrible at these trades. I am terrible. But in order to give something, you have to get something. I 100% am not trading Matisse Thybulle. You look at his last 5 games. He's got the team best net rating. He's got team best defensive rating. The number 2 plus minus on the team at plus 24. And he's played the 3rd fewest minutes on the Sixers. He continuously plays well when he needs to. I'm not saying he's the end-all, be-all of a championship, but the Sixers are significantly better with him on the court. And what I'm suggesting is less PJ Tucker. I'm suggesting less George Niang. And I'm suggesting just a little bit more of Matisse Thybulle. And enter here John Collins. His usage has really dropped this year, career low. I think this is like exhibit A of a guy that needs a fresh start. His impact in the pick and roll game has really dropped this season. 1.15 points per possession, 50 percentile this year as a roller. You look at 2 years ago, he was 94th percentile in 2022. Here's a fun fact. The Sixers roll their bigs to the basket more than any team in the NBA, 8.3%. In fact, Joel Embiid leads the league at rolling to the basket with 311 points, 76 more points than the second best roller in Clint Capella. James Harden is absolutely sensational, and I just think the fit of John Collins and his ability to just roll to the basket is pitch perfect. And I think the biggest concern here is obviously the contract moving forward because he's got a $26 million player option in a couple years. But for me, bite the bullet. I'm going John Collins. Bogdan Bogdanovic is a great shooter, and that's my trade.
I'm going to say Harris has been playing a lot better and sacrificing, but I might do this deal. It's not really, it's a lot of players, but it's not really blowing up the team. All we're getting rid of is really Tobias Harris because the other 3 don't play. And I would love to add Bogdanovic. That's a shooting threat. I kind of get what I would have got with Seth Curry anyhow with Bogdanovic, and then you add Collins. So I think I would do that trade. Dibes, how about you, Rob? What are you, a Korkmaz lover, Rob? Like, what else?
No.
Tobias is the only person in the trade you
Tobias
can be upset
Harris
about.
is the unsung hero of this team right
The
now.
glue. He's the glue.
This guy has finally developed into that shot that we've been looking for years. He's confident, and we just talked about how this locker room had stayed together. He's one of the main reasons. I'm not getting rid of Tobias Harris for nothing right now.
Yeah, actually, I'm back. Rob convinced me. Yeah, I'm back. I'm coming back. Rob, thank you. I get a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah, like I love John Collins. I love Bogdanovich. I actually did a scenario where we traded for Bogdanovich, but Tobias Harris, and I've always said this about him, he's not the best defender, but he's a willing defender. He will do everything he possibly can. I can't trade the leader of this team because here's the problem. James Harden is James Harden, and Joel Embiid doesn't always have the mental fortitude to be a leader. Tobias Harris is that locker room leader that is desperately needed for this locker room. I can't, even for that much talent, because I do agree with Dive, there's a lot of talent there. I can't get rid of him. He's just too essential to this team.
Well, let's dive into your trade, Rob. Your trade deadline trade. We'll pop that up here.
No one's going to do this, I know. I'll say it right out loud. The headline of my trade is get Matisse Thybulle the hell out of here. All right? But when I get rid of Matisse Thybulle in this trade scenario, I bring in a guy that I think is a tremendous on-ball defender that no one talks about, and that's OG Anunoby. I think you bring a guy here who's got not a ton of offense, but he has more than Thybulle, and he can defend on that second unit. He can be that wing defender that comes in and can play against some of these longer athletic players. So, I mean, to me, I don't think you can get this deal done this way. I think you're going to need picks and things like that. But Toronto might be in a full fire sale, and maybe, getting a couple of younger guys like a Thybulle and a Springer means more to them. But the problem is the 76ers don't have the picks I think they need to realistically pull this off. But my God, OG Anunoby on this team would be beautiful.
Yeah, I'm going to say I definitely do that trade, and absolutely no shot that the Raptors accept that for Anunoby.
Hey,
I mean, as a huge Anunoby fan, I love the Toronto Raptors. I love watching them play and their style of basketball, man. They're a lot of fun, but he's arguably the best wing defender in the NBA. Obviously, a clear fit of exactly what the Sixers need. He can defend 1 through 5. Terrific help defender. Shooting really well from 3 this year. He's that guy. He's a guy that can force deflections, get points off turnover, rebound really well. Absolutely love this trade. Slam dunk, Rob. You win.
Well, this time next week, we will be talking about whoever the Sixers acquired, and because the trade deadline will have passed at that point. But before we go, quick trivia. It's Super Bowl trivia. All right. The Eagle, Andy Reid, and you might know the answer. It's been around. It's been on a few websites. Andy Reid has coached for the Chiefs and the Eagles, obviously. Since he's been the coach on either side, there's been 6 games. What is Andy Reid's record combined in those 6 games?
Wait. Start over. Record.
He coached games on the Eagles versus Chiefs, and he coached games on the Chiefs versus Eagles. What's the combined record?
What's Andy Reid's combined record?
Like winning.
In all 6 of those games.
I'm going to go out on the limb. I know for a fact that he won 4. But I'm trying to think of the other 2. I'm going to say 5-1 to play it safe with 1 loss.
5-1. Who's coming in here? Corey Tater. Thanks for listening. Coming in at 3-3. Please hit that subscribe and like button for us to support us. Share it out. Anthony Aids is coming in at 6-0. Okay, Anthony. Dibes, where are you at?
I think I'm with Anthony. I don't remember a win. I'm gonna go 6-0.
You are correct. 6-0 is the answer. He was 3-0 with the Eagles.
I knew with
the Chiefs.
I knew as a Chiefs coach he hadn't lost to the Eagles, but I could only think of 2 wins against the Chiefs, but I couldn't remember the 3rd game, so I just I was like, he probably lost 1 in that 6. Nope. He didn't.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun fact. Pretty cool that he's done
That's
that.
awesome.
And hopefully now hopefully he's, what would he be? 6-1.
Well, let me just here's a fun fact. Like, the Eagles haven't won in Arizona since 2005. They stopped that trend this season.
Yeah.
The rules get broken in 2022-23.
That's good. That triggered me to think of another storyline. So Hassan Reddick gets drafted in Arizona, plays for Arizona, gets traded, comes back to his hometown, Philly, and is now going to play in the Super Bowl in the stadium that he was drafted in.
Did you see the Sue tweet?
No.
The suit where he tweeted he made a tweet where his prediction for 2022 and was making friends in Arizona. Fun fact: he's going to be making friends in Arizona.
It's a beautiful thing.
Well, that's all for tonight, everyone. Before we go, where can everyone find you, Rob?
Find me at Philly_Manis. I should start making my way back there a little bit. It's been a while for me, but you find me there. Probably making fun of 49ers fans and enjoying life.
Dives, where they find you?
Mr. Crockpot also making fun of 49ers fans. It's been just a blast. They're the new Cowboys fans. That's what they are. Refusing to take any kind of accountability, all that kind of stuff. But Senior Bowl week. Senior Bowl is in a few days. I'll be covering the heck out of the Senior Bowl. Stock up, stock down. I've already been doing some of that. If you're a fan of the NFL draft, go check that out.
Anthony,
wow, wait, what did she say? I don't even know.
You got to go watch it. That's what I was talking about earlier. She does a 2-minute thing. She's doing her makeup like a diva, and she just talks about the terrible.
Oh my god, I'd rather watch paint dry.
Well, you can find me at Freddie Burns _ on Twitter. You can find me on Edge of Philly Sports with Dives here, the Painted Line. We do a post, pre, and halftime show. One more left for the Super Bowl, and then that'll be wrapped up.
Crazy.
But that's it for tonight. For Rob and Chris Dives, I'm Freddie Burns. We will see you next week, 7 p.m.